Hey, Ethan.
Yeah.
Ah!
Ah! Oh, hey, you surprised me there. I didn't see you come in.
A
Oh,
little
whoa!
scare for them audiences.
And I didn't even see the audience come in. What a surprise! Oh.
they're filing in, folks. They're filing in. They're coming to watch our live audience.
They're filing.
Single file, everybody. Nice and slow. Nice
Stacked.
and safe.
Yeah, come on. Give
Fill in
it.
the seats. Fill in the
Hey, fill in
seats.
seats.
One per row.
Don't leave
Hey.
the space.
Hey, scooch
Don't leave
over.
the space in
Scooch over.
between.
Don't sit on his lap.
I see
Please
you.
don't sit on
Scooch
his
over.
Hey, listen. Everyone's vaccinated here. You don't have to leave a space. Just sit next to him. I know you may not know that person, but sit next to him now. Got a lot of people coming in here. So every book seat.
Oh,
Imagine
are
if
we
you
ready?
did a
Are we
live
ready? Are we ready? Stacked is filmed in front of a live studio audience.
Should we practice? Should we practice? Okay, everyone, when the sign goes up, what do? You clap.
Please.
And then when you see the laugh sign, what do? Yeah, there you go. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Welcome back to Stacked episode 88.
Oh, nice.
Disgusting.
We're doing
Disgusting.
disgusting movies part 2. Just
No.
kidding. We're doing. But see, it was quite a surprise for you, the listener, to be listening to Stacked and then having me just belch into your ear. Right? That was a surprise. You'd be like, "Oh, now what a surprise! I'm never gonna listen to this show ever again." No, keep listening because we have a fun show for you today. We were talking about surprise. It's the 4th of July. Surprise movies. I was the one who pitched this topic today. I feel like there's a lot of movies out there where, going into them, there's no way you can not have expectations for a movie when you're going into it, unless you know literally nothing about it. But even then, that itself is an expectation, So we're going to be talking about, at least this is my definition. I wanted to leave it very loose. I just said, let's do surprise movies. And I just let you guys play with whatever that is. My definition for this episode is movies that drastically shifted my expectation going in the most, because I feel like some of those experiences are some of the most memorable. And I have a lot of memorable experience, both good and bad, on this stack. All right, I feel like I'm increasing the amount of surprise, my enjoyment of the surprise by quality. So I'm gonna start out with like a really disappointing movie at my beginning, and then a movie where I was okay with, and then one that just blew me out of the water in terms of quality. But Chris, Brandon, what did you guys do for surprise movies? Because I just said surprise movies. What was your thought process, Chris? What about you?
So for me, it was I wanted to pick. Two of my films are surprises in the sense of their plot and like your experience with the movie in terms of like just as a audience member who might not have seen this movie before or what have you. And the last one that I picked was more of a movie that like really subverted what I had ever expected of this movie when I went into it, and just really switched it up on practically every level. So yeah, I feel like a lot of mine are based around like the audience experience revolving around the film, whether that's plot or just in terms of the sheer quality of the film itself.
I love it. What about you, Brandon?
I wanted to mix it up too. Going in, I have a film that is kind of a surprise that it is as good as it is, given what it is.
Yeah.
And I have a movie that is literally a surprise. That also had surprising moments.
It's literally a surprise. I can't wait to see that surprising movie. We'll see. We'll see what it is.
I think you've seen it.
You think? Oh,
I didn't check.
Oh yeah. Well, we shall see. But before we get into our movies, y'all, let's run over the rules of the show. Once a week, we set a topic or theme and go our separate ways to construct our own 3-film stack. Then, after a week, we come back here on the podcast and share our own stacks one film at a time. Then at the end of the show, we will mix and match our 9 films to make the ultimate decision on what quintessential 3-film stack we are checking out of this hypothetical video store. That is the slowest I've ever done the rules of the show, and I think I messed up the most times. Which is weird. Which
You just got used to saying it so
just running it off.
fast.
Which is a surprise, isn't it? Did I surprise you guys by how slow I read out the rules?
I was
recited the
surprised
rules.
not by your mistakes, but by your commitment to being slow.
All right. Well, whatever. I'm starting. It's my turn to go first this week with my first film. This is the biggest disappointment I have ever seen in a film. It is a surprise because it was so not good against what I thought it was going to be. It is a sequel to one of my favorite movies of all time. One of my all-timers. It came out in 2020. It was directed by the lead actor. It is The Jesus Rolls, the sequel to The Big Lebowski, about the Jesus. Holy hell. I saw this movie at the Frida Cinema. They did a double feature night where you watch The Big Lebowski and then you watch The Jesus Rolls. And it was awesome. Seeing The Big Lebowski in theaters was amazing because everyone was a fan of the movie. They were laughing. It was just these waves of laughter throughout the movie because people would laugh at jokes before the jokes would happen, and then they'd laugh at it while it's happening, and then they'd laugh at the jokes after the jokes happened because they're just still reeling from them, from all the funny moments, and that was just enthralling. And I was like, all right, we're all of us are Big Lebowski fans. I can't wait to get into the Jesus Rolls after this movie. And once the credits went up for Big Lebowski, like, I would say 95% of the audience left. And I was like, where'd everybody go? There's still one more movie left. And I see why they all left, because the Jesus Rolls is not only one of the worst movies I've seen, it was just so disappointing. It is a remake of like this French comedy, if I remember correctly, directed by John Turturro. It has the girl from Amelie in it and Bobby Cannavale, and it's just like it's this weird story of them just like going around and and not really doing anything and like having sex occasionally, and then like I don't know, like I really can't tell you like what the fuck happens in this movie. It is so boring. You can tell the direction in terms of the acting is just non-existent. Turturro is not a director. It is so plain looking, like in terms of the cinematography. It is just one of the dullest movies I've ever seen in my life. And so just fucking sad because the Jesus is like one of the best characters in The Big Lebowski. He always has some of the funniest moments, his introduction, and when he says, I fuck you Saturday, I'll fuck you Wednesday instead, like he's only in the movie for 2 scenes and he's like one of the most memorable things in the movie, and then he gets his own movie and it's just so boring. So boring. I know you guys haven't seen this movie, but Chris, I know you're a big Lebowski fan. What do you think what have you heard about the Jesus Rolls?
I'm not gonna lie, until you said it, I didn't know there was a sequel. I based on what you're saying, you know what this movie reminds me a lot of? Reminds me a lot of Cars 2. Take a memorable, loved character from the first one, who is a great comedic relief character, and give them their own spin-off sequel. Doesn't tend to work that well all the time. It has worked from time to time, but you gotta do something really, really special in order to make that work, and it doesn't sound like that this one did it. It's okay. We'll always have Big Lebowski.
Exactly.
The dude abides. You know what I'm saying?
I'm just glad that like the dude, Walter, none of those guys are in this movie. It's like you don't even have to know that it's connected to the Big Lebowski, and that's why like the Coens aren't attached to it at all, which I think is telling to this film's quality. But it's just such a weird movie. It's so weird. Brandon, as someone who's not a fan of The Big Lebowski, do you think this film would meet your expectations if you saw it?
I'd
He
probably
very
be
well
like-
could.
Yeah.
I mean,
What if he likes it more?
I would kill him. I would legit kill him.
I mean, I don't have that attachment to the original film to make it like a vitriolic hatred, probably. But I don't know. It doesn't really seem that interesting from how you described it, nor how I saw it. Because I knew the movie existed, but I don't. From what you described, it doesn't really sound that interesting, and from the promotional material I saw, it doesn't really sound that interesting. I love bowling, but I've never seen a good bowling movie. I've seen Kingpin, not very good.
It's not even a bowling movie.
Well, then what's the point?
There's no bowling in the movie. There's like one scene of bowling.
The Jesus rolls.
I know.
The Jesus who rolls.
He doesn't even bowl in the movie.
That's like his whole point in the original.
They just drive around and stuff.
Well, then I don't care.
Yeah. I think this movie needs to be lost to time.
I guarantee it will.
I mean, it's kind of like those
no one's gonna
the
remember
Psycho and Exorcist sequels of like even if they're not bad, like nobody remembers those. You know?
Yeah.
They're like, wait, they made sequels? We just remember the classic first one.
Do you guys think that they'll ever make a Little Lebowski? Because we know we know the dude has a son out there somewhere. What if they made a movie? Only if the Coens did it, I would be excited.
Only if you're the Little Lebowski will I watch.
Oh yeah, it would work because like the movie came out in '98. She gets pregnant in '98. I could be me. He's probably my exact age. Come on, let's go. That would be perfect.
Yeah.
Joel and Ethan Coen, hit me up. Let's make something, huh? Let's do it. All right, Brandon, you're up next.
Yeah.
What's your first surprise?
Okay. So I'm gonna go in with a movie that did like drastically outperformed my expectations. Not because I think it's more quality than people say it is, but because it's not what I expected from the movie based on what everybody talks about. I'm going with 2012's Magic Mike.
What?
That's a good one. Good one. I did not think of that movie. Good choice.
Okay,
I like that.
Because whenever anybody talks about Magic Mike or its sequel, they only talk about the fact that these guys are male strippers, and every scene you see is like stripping. And I'm going in expecting like kind of a lighthearted comedy, maybe with a little bit of romance about a male stripper. And what I actually got was like a vulnerable tale about male stripping and how like people lead their lives in that industry. And not only that, it's very sex positive, and it does things that I think a lot of cinema ignores when it comes to males and sex, because often cinema exploits females and uses the male gaze, but this uses the female gaze but then takes it a step further by examining the males who are being exploited in the movie, which I think creates a great understanding for male audiences who might be exploiting women on their own by watching like other like American Pie movies that are not sex-based or only sex-based, you know, those spin-offs than the National Lampoon's ones versus like the regular series. And I think it's a great movie. You know, Channing Tatum's character, Alex Pettyford's character, they're very good characters. Matthew McConaughey, their journeys throughout the film are very touching and endearing, and their relationship is like brothers. So that's really interesting to watch. Yes, there are those sexy scenes in the movie, but I don't think they kind of dominated like some people said they did. So yeah, Magic Mike. Ethan, you're muted.
Sorry, I was adjusting my chair, and my chair is really squeaky, so I didn't want to include that. I was saying I've never seen this movie before. I still, even though you told me, I still have no idea. Like, I don't really have a great picture of what it really is, you know. And I think I'm one of those blokes who like has just the preconceived notion. It's like, oh, male stripper movie, you know. Like, I don't know. They made a sequel to it, so it must be good, you know.
Because everything that has a sequel is good.
That's just Hollywood rules, all right?
Yeah. R.I.P.D. 2.
Is it coming?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, I'm excited. I gotta check. But first, I gotta watch the first one. See if it, because now I know it's gotta.
It has to
be
be
right?
good.
Maybe that will be mentioned on my list next time. You know,
The Equalizer. The Equalizer.
the Equalizer too.
Take
Chris,
it.
have you seen Magic Mike?
Yeah, I have. Like Brandon said, very like a movie that you would begin like start and think like, okay, it's gonna be a bunch of like these blokes, dancing and everything. It's gonna look great. Total like chick flick night. Girls go
Yeah.
out to the movies kind of thing, right? But you watch this movie and you're actually kind of like, damn, I kind of feel for these guys. They're surprisingly vulnerable and like authentic, and I think honestly a pretty good dissection by Soderbergh on like masculinity.
Mhm.
And it's not a movie that like on the surface you're immediately gonna be like, oh, it's a deep character drama or anything like that, but it's a movie with a lot more to it than it's dancing. And
Lots of nuance.
yeah, surprising amount of nuance for a movie about Channing Tatum and co looking hot and dancing. But hey, it's good. It's better than the step up movies.
Wow. It's a pretty incredible
less.
comedy and drama, but I mean the sequences are pretty good.
Yeah,
Gotta say. Yeah. Spicy.
I gotta find that spice then. I gotta search out that spice. All right, Chris, what's your first one? What you got, dude?
All right,
Laugh.
you guys are not gonna see this shit coming.
Well, good. I hope not, because it's a surprise movie.
No, there are two movies I know for sure that you guys aren't seeing coming. So this is one of them. This movie is, I think. Okay, wait, real quick again. Let me do some math. The seventh entry into a now 8-part. There are 8 films in this series and a TV show now. I'm picking the 7th entry into this franchise. I'm picking Don Mancini's 2017 film, Cult of Chucky.
What the fuck?
All right, let me tell you about Cult of Chucky. For any of you Chucksters out there listening.
Chucksters.
All right, so for anyone who doesn't know, the
We
Chucky
love
franchise originated back in, I believe, 1988 was the first Chucky film. It was called Child's Play. Then there were
It's
2
good.
sequels, so Child's Play 1, 2, 3. They were all, no, first 2 are good. Third one's meh. And then they did 2 like spoof kind of sequels, which were Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky. And then there was Curse of Chucky, and yada yada yada. It goes on. I don't want to bore you guys with this whole timeline, but one thing I do want to quickly say about the Child's Play franchise is that they, throughout these years of like all these slashers getting rebooted, sequels, prequels, everything, and like branching timelines, Chucky is the only one that has had a fully linear, straightforward one, except for, I didn't even see this movie because I rejected it. The reboot with Mark Hamill as Chucky.
I saw that.
What was it called? Was it?
It's just
It's
called
Child's
Child's
Play.
Play. Yeah.
Was it just called Child's Play?
It's not good.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was.
So anyway, Cult of Chucky. Cult of Chucky is the film that came out right before that Mark Hamill reboot, which was I don't even know how to. Okay, so little did anyone ever know, the Chucky franchise is like a giant soap opera, and in this film, I don't want to give away too much, but you know what's scarier than one Chucky? 4. There are 4 Chuckies in this movie.
4 of them?
But they're all the same person. It's a weird, like,
What?
Is this a
branching
multiverse
personality
movie?
thing. The Chucky franchise is a whole can of worms to open about like its lore and its magic and whatever.
Magic.
But the
I've
reason
never
I
heard
bring this up
somebody
for
describe
surprise
Chucky
movies
as
is
magic.
when I watched this movie, I didn't know that there were going to be 4, and also it's just like it's such a weird tone for this movie to go for because it's like it takes place in like a mental institution, and it's just, ooh, this movie is pretty not the best. It's definitely far from like the best moments throughout the Child's Play franchise, but it does have some fun moments. The kills are always good with Chucky. Generally, he's a very creative killer. Don Mancini, I also think is a very good. I don't like he did it. He directed this one, but I don't think he directed all the other ones. But he has been on board with this franchise from the very beginning. He's the one who created Chucky. And yeah, I have a lot of respect for Don Mancini, even though I don't think he's the greatest director. And yeah, so the surprise of why I chose this is just the sheer absurdity of everything that happens in this movie. And believe me, there are many other entries in this franchise that are just as, if not more, ridiculous. But I just like the idea of picking the movie that has 4 Chuckies in it. Anyway, by the way, this movie has a sequel coming out soon. Apparently, it ties into the TV show. So
just ignore the Mark Hamill one.
Yeah, apparently it's literally just follow it linearly, ignore the Mark Hamill one. Everything else will make sense. Okay. I haven't seen the show. I've seen every movie other than that Mark Hamill one.
Does the show connect to the movies?
I believe so. I haven't seen the show.
Oh. Yeah.
So we'll see. But okay, wait. So I just want to gauge. Brandon, I know you've seen Child's Play 1. Have you seen the other ones?
I've only seen the first Child's Play and the reboot, whatever.
And then I've only seen the
Mark
first
Hamill
one.
Okay, and you've only seen the first one, Ethan. Okay, well, we've all seen the best one, at least in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're ever interested in just checking out a franchise that has weirdly long legs, considering, you know, it has kind of a cult following, even though it's not, but it's still wildly popular too. Yeah. It's a pretty interesting franchise just to like study for how it has adapted through the times. You know, with like the 90s spoof, like what's the word, fad that went on. That's when Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky came around. And then in 2013, when they did Curse of Chucky, which is when everything had to be dark and serious and, you know. Anyway, yeah, that's my whole spiel about this movie.
Could you skip to this one? Because, like, I've skipped to, like, you know, Jason Lives or, like, New Nightmare. And those ones I was like, all right, I get this perfectly fine. Can you skip to Cult of Chucky if you've only seen the first one? Or is there, like, is the saga, like, very tied into each other?
It's pretty damn tight. Like, Andy Barclay is in this movie. The same actor, too.
Oh, from
like
the very
from
first
the
one.
Movie. Yeah.
Wow.
But, like, I feel like you'll still be able to follow this film if you at least see Curse of Chucky. Because this was the one right after that one. Right. And those two are pretty close because the characters are intertwined. Anyway.
All right. Well, that was surprising. That was very surprising. I didn't think we'd be talking about Chucky, let alone 4 of them on the podcast today. Crazy.
We love him, don't we, folks?
We love him, don't we, folks? Little Chucky. Look at him walking around. Little Chucky. He has a little baby body. Little Chucky.
Yeah!
Ow, get him out of here. Escort him out. Take away his knife. Don't give him his knife, everyone.
My knife.
So we're going to the second round here. My second film, I know we've all seen this one, and this is sort of a surprise where people hyped this movie up to me to be something just absolutely crazy and insane and something I've never seen ever put on film, and just like absolutely vile and disgusting. And I watched it and I was like, okay, that's it, you know. So I was surprised that way. It is a 1975 film. Piero Paolo Pasolini. Salò.
Oh,
I'm picking Salò.
Oh, all right.
And I think this also works good as a surprise movie because I think it also can be a surprise if it doesn't even fit into my definition. And if someone were just to watch this movie completely blindly, I think they'd be in for a surprise.
That is true. That's true. It is a big surprise.
If you knew nothing about this movie and you went in, you're like, oh, Salò, what is that supposed to mean? You know, like, huh? How many days of Sodom this is? Oh, cool. Let's check it out. You'd be in for one. But personally, I thought I was going to be in for a lot more when I saw this movie, which is why I'm picking it. I don't know. It's it's a very fascinating film that sort of banks on the spectacle of, like, I don't know, like the darkness of what human lust can be sometimes, and sexuality, you know, and what can be accomplished when people have total power over other people. It's just a complete exploration of that. I don't really want to go into the details. If you haven't seen Sallow,
I'll go into the details.
you want to go into details? Go for it. Yeah,
I'm willing to go into a couple of details.
I'm just like, I don't know. In the internet age, this movie isn't as surprising to me anymore because a lot of the things that they do, I just feel like myself as a average person who's explored the internet has become quite desensitized to. Not except for the last sequence. I'll say the last sequence.
I was about to say, like, damn, dude, really?
Ethan's been to the darkest depths of the
Ethan
internet.
really goes into the deep web.
I'm not saying I'm into this stuff. I'm just saying I've seen it. Okay.
I don't know. Deep web.
I feel like
person.
I feel like the hot dog skit from I Think You Should Leave. X videos, RedTube, Simpsons porn videos. I've seen it all. People know these sites better than they know their name of their old grandma, you know? Which is why I think Crimes of the Future is a really good movie, because I think it's sort of the antithesis to Sallow and how desensitized we really become even to something like that. Anyways, yeah, it's a very surprising movie. I think it's very surprising if you know nothing about it and you go into completely blind. And if you know a lot about it, like I feel like I knew a lot about it, it still was surprising, but for the wrong reason. But I know you guys have all seen Sallow, so let's talk, because we had a rule in disgusting movies that we weren't allowed to talk about this movie. That was a rule that Sellers put upon us. But now we can talk about this movie. So what do you guys think of Sallow?
I watched this with my dad.
What the fuck?
Poor thing. How did that go?
So he was like, "So it's fascism, right? It's a statement against fascism. I see." And I was like, "Yeah, Dad, you got it."
Oh,
and,
no. Oh no.
I mean, it's
he doesn't know to what level.
I mean, he's right, but
He
No,
is right.
He's completely right. He's completely
it's
right.
just like it's a simplification.
It
And-
absolutely is.
And I think it's really interesting to see power dynamics like in this way, in like a snuff related way.
Yeah.
I think it's great to see the artist's connection to his film and how that ended up being his demise because of it. It is a pretty gross movie. I have seen grosser, but I unlike Ethan, think it is kind of. I think it's pretty extreme. Like, I wouldn't say it's like. There's not a lot of movies where people like eat feces on screen.
Watch homeless guy eats crap on YouTube.
Well,
There.
why did you look that up?
No.
Yeah, why'd you look that? How'd you find
You
that?
said that so fast.
All right.
Yeah.
You know what? Fuck it. Roll the clip. I'm gonna play the whole homeless guy eats crap
No,
video
we're gonna
right
get
now.
age
Roll the
restricted.
clip.
Hey, dude, can I have some change?
Hell no, dude. I see you on this fucking corner every fucking day. You think I'm gonna give you some fucking money? Fuck you, you fucking dumpster baby. Alright, fuck you.
I just want some food. Hey, let me have a little bit of change.
Let's see. Ooh, I do have some. All right.
Cool, appreciate it, man.
Hey man, I got you a sack of fudge there, dude. You enjoy that shit, bro. It's good shit.
Tight. I like fudge. I don't know what kind of fudge this is. That's... Damn, man, this isn't fudge.
Oh man, shit.
See? Told you.
Best thing
Anyways.
is when you'd be like that childhood. I don't think it's a fable, but it's like what kids used to sing. They're like what you do eating chocolate, where you get a doggy dropped it, where's the doggy over there making more to share, like that. You know, that's what this movie is, but darker and more politically based.
Yeah.
It's based. That's what I'm saying.
Just gets big. All I gotta say is, fuck you, you fucking dumpster baby. Anyways. what
Solo
about you?
based. I own this movie.
Yeah, you do. And isn't that how you watched it, Chris? Because Brandon lent it to you?
No, it was on. I saw it on I forgot was it on streaming or did I just?
Yeah,
I don't know. I forget. I remember seeing it. I do remember seeing it alone in my apartment in senior year of college, and really needed to take a shower after because I felt really gross. So okay, I mean, like, you guys pretty much said all there is to say about this film that I would say anyway. But yeah, it's a pretty fascinating movie in the sense of like what it's going for depicting and everything. You know, obviously it's not the most conventional movie, and the way in which it goes about it is pretty out there and like intense at times and can be hard to look at least for me. Ethan apparently takes great joy in watching this shit.
What? I didn't even say that.
I'm fucking with you.
No,
But,
I think he actually does. I've seen his room.
What are you talking about? What is wrong with you? They're telling lies.
but-
If you're listening to this, they're telling lies. I have the DMs.
But,
I can prove it.
You can lie. It's fine. We're okay with that. Just don't be true to yourself. That's all I'm saying.
Put that on
Yeah.
your grave, Brand. You can lie. It's fine.
Alright, but yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. There's not much else to it, at least in my head, that you guys haven't already addressed. Yeah. Respect to Pasolini for being able to stomach directing this and literally dying for this. Went out like a true artist, for real.
Yeah. That's what I'm going to do is Stacked.
What's the stacked live stream?
Who's gonna kill you over this shit?
They might kill me for making this movie. We'll see. Hey, a captain goes down with the ship.
You won't believe what happened last week. Ethan was assassinated at the corner of La Palma.
At the corner of Orangethorpe and Walker, Ethan was found dead. All right, Brandon, second pick. Let's go.
All right. Well, I'm gonna skip over what Ethan said and say, Chris is onto something. Horror sequels sometimes are kind of wild, and sometimes they have no right being as absurdly good or wild as they are. I'm picking Final Destination 5.
Oh, great. Surprisingly good fifth entry into this random ass franchise.
Right. Often in horror, especially, you don't get to the fifth entry and go, I'm going to watch this and enjoy myself. But, because, like, especially with the fourth film, which is awful. It's, like, one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. Totally gimmicky, uninspired, garbage. And the CGI kills are awful. The early 2010s horror slashers are just awful because they don't contain any good kills, no practical effects, and it just feels like kind of cheap. But like
They're so cheap.
But the fifth one does like a good mix of like decent CGI kills that don't look like they're CGI and good practical ones. And not only that, the fifth entry is possibly the best entry in the franchise. Usually when it comes to like horrors films or even franchise films, like people are like, oh, the first one's usually the best or the second one. But when you get to the fifth, like by then people are like, I enjoyed it or I hated it, and this is like, this very well has the case because the early Final Destination movies are very kitschy and silly. Like they're not for everyone. I know Joey and Tori, friends of the show, do not like these movies, but the fifth one, genuinely good story, great characters. I know pretty much it had a commentary on it, and their reaction to this movie kind of justifies how I feel about it because The first half is very similar to any Final Destination movie, but it actually is like compelling in how and not how crazy it is, but like in how invested you are in characters you just met, and then developing those relationships with those characters, especially the main three, is what really sells the film. In the end, biggest surprise of the whole franchise. So
Is this the
I
last
think it's
one that's been made?
yeah, they're in development on another one, which is like a reimagining, but it doesn't have anything to do with these five, so it's like a soft reboot.
Oh. Chris, have you seen this one?
Yeah, I have seen this one. I remember like so when I saw these movies like when I was really young, I remember these movies especially those first two really haunted me.
Yeah.
Just like just like even like because a lot of the deaths are like reasonable like enough that like you can imagine them actually happening, and also are often in places that you're actually around, like even in like a shower or like in your room in the kitchen, and that's where like these movies really get to me. And like in this fifth one, there's just one scene with the with an eye.
Oh,
I won't go any further than that. That shit fucked me up when I first saw that. It was really gnarly. There's a great scene with the bridge in the beginning of this movie.
gymnasium scene. Haunting.
Yeah, and the gym scene with the fucking what's her name, pole vaulter. Is that
Yeah.
the sport she was doing, or gymnastics?
No,
I don't know.
gymnastics. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's great. Well, it's not good, but like it's a surprisingly good fifth entry, especially after considering the fourth one was largely disliked. And yeah, like Brandon said, I don't want to describe it, but the ending, especially if you've been watching the franchise for a bit, is a bit of a mind melter. It's great.
And
The
they
ending's
get
really
you.
good.
They really do.
They really get you. Nobody saw that shit coming.
Nobody thinks about it during the movie, and so like when
Yeah.
it happens, it's like, oh, that makes a lot
Oh
more
right.
sense.
Yeah.
Oh.
Exactly. But there you go.
Well, I've only seen the first two. The first one we tried to record our first commentary track, Ron. I don't know what went wrong there, but it was we tried. And then the second one I wasn't quite into. Don't you guys like the second one, don't you? Or
Yeah, it's enjoyable.
I like it. It's good.
I wasn't about it. So maybe I gotta. There's only 3 more. I'm
Yeah.
trying to watch more horror films this fall season, so maybe I'll dive back into them.
If you get to the
Steal
fifth
Brandon's
one,
DVDs.
let me
Yeah.
watch it with you. I'm curious because I have them all. I'm a big fan of the franchise. I don't like the third or fourth one, but I enjoy the third one at least, and there's a coaster in it. So
Yeah, it's on the poster. I'm looking at it. Right
funny story, by the way. I was at Knott's at my job, and it was like months ago, and there were these kids in the back row with their parents on Sidewinder, and they were like really scared to go on. They were like 5, 6, 7 in that area. And the parents are like, yeah, you don't want to go on this one. Have you remember when we watched Final Destination? And they were like tormenting their kids because of course, at the beginning of every movie, there's a disaster. In this one, it's a roller coaster
It's the
disaster.
roller coaster.
And they were like traumatizing them. And they're like, see, ask him. And I was like, I'm not abetting in your bad parenting.
You should have
But
been like, that movie's not that good. You should have watched the 5th one.
I said it's not true. It's not true.
That's funny. Yeah, I gotta check those out. All right, Chris, let's go into your second pick.
All right. I'm gonna save this one for last. So I'm gonna go with a 1987 film directed by, I don't even know if you guys know this guy, Ringo Lam. It's a movie from Hong Kong called City on Fire. Sorry.
Oh.
Okay, City on Fire. I don't want to give away too much, but it follows an undercover cop who is tasked with infiltrating a gang of ruthless jewel thieves. He has a love interest as well, who is, trying to convince him to leave the force and get married and everything. But in the midst of all this, he's also an undercover cop rolling with these ruthless. When I say ruthless, I don't just mean like, oh, like they hold people at gunpoint and shit like that. They like blow people away with shotguns throughout this entire movie. There is sorry, my voice just cracked like hell there. What the fuck? there's very little
was a
like
little surprised,
remorse throughout this
Chris.
movie, and of course because of that, there's also the added element of this guy also being pursued by cops. Um, so yeah, a very fun, double-edged, like sword kind of movie. Yeah, it's just it's one of like those classic like Hong Kong like action films from the 80s that really made the city like famous for what it was able to do. This kind of stands toe to toe with say those John Woo like the John Woo films like A Better
Killer.
Tomorrow or The Killer or what have you.
Hard boiled.
Yeah, and Hard Boiled. Yeah, this one's a pretty good one. Ethan, I think especially you would like this one because it has that kind of grooviness that you kind of find in like Police Story.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I feel like you dig this. Brandon, I think you'd also enjoy this too, just for its like the grappling between the jewel thieves versus the cops and all that stuff. You know, a guy kind of caught in the middle. You know, he's a fun character to watch too because it's played by this guy named Chow Yun Fat.
Oh,
who's,
yeah.
really
I love
famous.
Chow Yun Fat.
Yeah, Chow
He's
Yun
good.
yeah. And yeah, he kills it in this and would recommend. Yeah.
That's
mean-
awesome. I have heard of this movie actually. People say Tarantino has taken inspiration from this movie for.
I can
Reservoir
definitely see
Dogs.
that. I can see that a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to piece it together, and it sounds really fun. And I'm gonna add
It
it
is
to my
pretty
watch
good.
list right now. How about that?
Yeah.
I'm excited to check it out. What do you think, Brandon?
I'm not a big I think I'm discovering this. Like, I'm not a big fan of police movies where police are the protagonist, and it's nothing to do with how I feel about police in the real world. It's just I guess crime stories aren't the most interesting thing to me. Like, I think LA Confidential is kind of overrated. You know, something like a private eye investigating stuff. Like, Police Story I like, but I don't like it as much as you guys do. So I don't know what it is, but I mean, maybe it'll work for me. I wasn't really a big fan of The Killer, that John Woo film, and I did like Hard Boiled, but it was more enjoyable than it was like interesting as a story. I thought the action was really great. So
That's
maybe it'll be interesting, but like my mileage varies. You know, sometimes I go through bouts where I'm like, a genre's not for me. Remember noir movies, Italian movies.
Yeah. Italian movies.
The genre of Italian movies, desert movies, desert.
Yeah,
movies.
exactly. I just go through waves of not liking a movie until watching a bunch of good ones from that same thing. It's absurd,
But yeah,
it's me.
that's my second pick.
Alrighty, that's a good pick. That's a good pick. All right, let's go into the final round here. My last pick. It's it's the reason. It's the reason why I picked this. Why I decided to do this episode to begin with. This film, it really inspired me. It literally came out this weekend. I just want to talk about Barbarian, guys.
Yeah, I had a feeling one of you was gonna pick this. Because
I was fighting
fresh and
against
perfect
it.
for this stack.
I'm fighting against it.
You fought against it. You
I'm
fought
trying
against it?
to, yeah, I'm trying to keep like my options open.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
I thought about not including it. I'm just gonna name my honorable mention, because I know none of you two have seen it. Maybe you have. Hellraiser was gonna be my my last one because I thought I wasn't gonna be a fan of those movies because I'm not really a fan of like the Saw franchise and most slasher films, and I was like, it doesn't look like it'd be a movie for me, but it was actually really good, and it blew me out of the water. But I want to talk about Barbarian. Okay, so this movie just came out, so I want to be as very,
Vague.
very vague as I can be about this film. All I will say is it is one of the most, it's like the most engaged I've ever been with both a film and an audience in a theater in like forever. Probably since like Endgame, but
I
for a
agree.
completely different reason. But because it's a horror film, which makes it all the more entertaining because horror films tend to get visceral reactions out of people, and everyone was just as blind as me and Brandon going into that theater.
And it was
I also
a great
felt like
theater.
Brandon and I were sort of like we were sort of like the stars of the show. I don't want to like have a case of protagonist, but we were the ones closest to the screen, and I do feel like we were the loudest. But it still was fun to hear like dudes in the back going, "Oh no way" and stuff like that. Like,
Or the clapping at the Nicole Kidman ad before the movie.
Oh yeah, that's when you know it's gonna be a good ass crowd. Is when someone like pays their respects to Nicole Kidman fucking video. You know,
because there was like probably like 50 people in our theater, and like probably like 30 of them were clapping.
Yeah, it was great. But yeah, anyways, on to Barbarian. So going into this movie, they played the trailers so many times. I got as fucking exhausted of the trailers as I was about that movie Smile. They keep playing the trailers for Smile, and every time I see it, I get less and less interested about it. And that's how I was feeling about Barbarian. And I was like, I just can't wait for this movie to just come and go in theaters. You know, it just seems like a whatever horror movie. And then I was like seeing ads of like they were like filming the like, you know, when like certain horror movies will like film like the audience reactions and like the night
and then
vision
use
mode.
that as promotion.
Yeah, they were doing that, and I'm like, well, it can't be that scary, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
and usually that's a sign that this movie's ass.
yeah, when they do that, I'm like, oh, come on, like, all right. But then I started reading the reviews for the movie, and they're like, this film's phenomenal, and they're like, it's so great that the marketing was so ass because it reveals nothing, and you get so much more out of it. And I was like, oh damn, I want to go check it out. And I think I know Chris, you don't agree with me and Brandon here, but I think it is the scariest film I've ever seen, ever. I think there are scarier scenes I've seen in film. Fire in the Sky. I think I've been more scared in the scene in Nope when the kids are dressed up as aliens. But I have never like felt so much terror throughout a duration as much as Barbarian, because this film does such a brilliant thing of, I want to call it postmodern horror, where it's almost sort of adapting horror from video games and like internet horror storytelling, where you seem to have some sort of like, it's very grounded, the horror, I want to say, but it's also very like so fantastical at the same time. And the way this director, who by the way is from Whitest Kids You Know, like from a comedy group, which is crazy, the way he's able to like sort of block the characters to sort of feel like, to me, I feel like I was watching like someone control this person in a game. To me, it felt like when we were playing Resident Evil 7 in the Foligno Theater, you know, and how everyone was calling out to us as we were making dumb mistakes, or when I'm watching like Markiplier play Amnesia or something like that, you know, like these really scary games. But like, as you're seeing these people do these dumb decisions, I felt so connected to them, not in a way that I felt connected to the people in other horror movies, but in ways like in video games, you know? I'm still trying to figure out this postmodern horror angle to it, because I haven't seen many people talk about it besides me and Brandon after the movie. But yeah. I feel like there is something there, you know, that it makes it stand out from other horror movies. Brandon, do you want to like help me out here? Like,
yeah,
it's so surprising.
I got into horror before you did. I remember you didn't really like horror movies before college. From what you told us.
The Thing is the horror movie that turned me on to horror.
Right.
Because then that was the movie that sort of helped me respect the craft of horror. When I started to learn about the motivated camera and how horror filmmakers can build a scare, you know?
Right.
That helped me like not be as scared of horror movies as I used to be, or not find them as cheap. Because I think you talked about this earlier of like, the horror movies that were playing in theaters when I was growing up looked cheap and awful, you know?
They are, mostly.
Like, the early 2010s horror movies looked awful. And I was like, this genre is not for me, you know? And then the ones that I did find scary, I found really scary. So I was just like, I don't care about horror. But then I watched The Thing, and that's what made me respect the craft. Anyways, you've always been a horror guy. So what do you think of Barbarian?
I think postmodern is a good way to describe it. If it's almost an evolution of the meta-ness that you would see in like the Scream or Nightmare movies, or scary movies, even if you want to include those, which actively comment on the horror movie tropes that you see. And they don't act to subvert them. They like kind of embrace them in a way that it seems like a loving, like, we know it's ridiculous and stupid, but you're going to like it because it's postmodern and it's commenting on it. And that's kind of the trend that the Christopher Landon horror movies have been doing, that Freaky, Happy Death Day. And this is almost an evolution of that, where it knows the tropes, but it's not actively commenting on them in a way that's overt and like supposed to be like funny and clever. Like it doesn't do it in a way that feels like it's full of itself. It honestly feels like an active continuation of the postmodern meta-ness of those 90s and 2010s horror films that would comment on the genre directly. And honestly, like, there are scenes in this movie, and I talked to this about this with Ethan. I was like, there are scenes in this movie where I'm actively entertained and laughing my ass off, but also like clenching my ass because of how I'm not anticipating this to last very long. Like, I am scared at the same time that I am laughing. And that is a very hard thing to capture. It's even one of my favorite movie moments of the year, with Justin, somebody's character. I don't want to say, I just said his first name. Somebody's character.
Justin Carver's in the movie?
Yeah. One
Justin Carver.
One character in this movie this actor I had no idea was even near this movie.
The Sprouts
showed up, and I was just like, whoa, that's crazy. But then there's a scene with him later that I was like laughing and also like, oh my god, I am so scared. And Ethan and I both were on tense. Like, I looked at him like for the first third and we're like, it's pretty good. And then like that, there's a scene that happens that they had built the tension up so well, and there could have been nothing there, but you're expecting one thing because it plays upon the trope and you expect it, but it's like, that's where this movie's going. I don't think it's like that great, but let's see where it goes. And then when it went there, it went somewhere else. We were like, whoa. And it scared the hell out of us. Yeah. In a way that worked really well. It's a great surprise. I didn't know anything about this movie. Like, I had only seen the poster. I had never even seen a trailer for the thing, which is weird because I go to a lot of movies. So
yeah, like, how did you not see it?
How did I not see it? Yeah. Because, like, I would have remembered, because I remember the Smile and the Exorcism trailers that they played.
It played before Nope a lot for me. How did you not see it?
It didn't play in front of that for me.
Weird.
I know, right? Honestly, kind of a blessing, because that movie was a total surprise. I didn't even know, like, I only see the poster and I knew the title because everybody was tweeting about it, and I might have seen a picture of Bill Skarsgård, but I didn't know, like, what he was doing in the movie. Mm-hmm. So it just totally took me off guard. One of my favorites of the year.
Before I pass on to Chris, I just want to go back to that what you were talking about, like, you're just as entertained as you are scared. And I feel like that is such a crazy, like, phenomenon to have, and that what makes perfect horror is, like, you want the scene to continue at the same time you don't want it to, like, you want it to end, you know? Because I don't think I've ever been, besides Gray Aliens, I've never, like, said out loud, like, I said this to Brandon, I'm like, I don't want to see that thing again. I was like, please, I was like telling the characters, don't go there because I don't want to see that again.
It wasn't, I didn't want to see it for me. I didn't care about the characters.
Yeah,
no, but I did care
about
it. I did care about the characters.
Yeah. Anyways, Chris, you're not as warm on it as us, but I haven't talked to you about this movie yet. But you still liked it, so I want to hear your take on Barbarian.
Yeah, I mean, you guys pretty much covered everything that I would praise about this movie. I guess it just didn't have as much of an effect on me. Mm-hmm. But I feel like if you put us in a room, like, we would sing the same praises, and probably discuss the same faults, but yeah, I mean, like, I guess, like, I, much like you guys, a big part of my experience with this movie was the audience and like my engagement with them and how like it felt like, yeah, we were all united in this shared experience of fear, but also like laughter. There were so many moments out of this movie where like even I let out I think I let out a loud like shit in the middle of this movie. And then there was this one moment, I'm not gonna say what happened, but something happened in the movie, and then literal like probably one of the loudest things I've ever heard in the theater is the dude like maybe like 4 seats down from me, just like I swear his ass lifted off his seat and he went, oh,
That happened to
oh
us.
my god,
That happened to Ethan and I.
Yeah, I kept slapping Brandon. I was like,
We were like, we were holding on to each other. We were like, my God.
But yeah, it is a very good movie. This is a movie that I think like much like X is gonna age really well with me. It's sitting at a 3.5 for me right now. It might raise to a 4 depending on if it goes there in my head. But yeah, I really like what they did here. I'm even though like maybe it just didn't gel with me as well as you guys, like nonetheless, like I really do hope that horror filmmakers and horror executives at studios are looking at this movie. I really hope they are.
Really well this weekend.
I think it's doing well
for a movie that nobody heard about like last week.
Yeah, and also this is a studio horror film, right? This isn't indie, is it?
No, it's from 20th Century Studios. So
yeah, it's from
Disney.
20th Century. So like, I hope 20th Century is
movie.
looking at this and being like, oh, technically a Disney movie. Yeah.
Yeah, best Disney movie ever. Just kidding.
When are they gonna add the Barbarian House to Disneyland?
Oh my god! Put that on Haunted Mansion.
One more thing. I think that this movie also says a lot about societal horror in terms of like what it says politically, also socially between like people, because there's a very interesting dynamic that is the only thing, if you watch the trailers, you learn about, which is like the inciting incident being that two people. I'm gonna say this because it's in the trailers.
Yeah, that's what everyone knows.
It's two people get double booked at an Airbnb, and there are a lot of complicated like social, I don't know, niceties.
Protocol.
Yeah, like what are you supposed to do in that situation, especially when it's in the neighborhood that it's in, and the stuff that examines through that, very great. Kind of stylized, but not overly stylized. Like it doesn't feel like it's paying homage to the 80s in any way, which is kind of what I've been annoyed with mostly with horror films lately, is they're leaning too heavily upon, oh, we gotta like do, because the best horror films come from like the 80s and 90s, according to a lot of people. But I don't think that's necessarily true.
According to this generation of horror filmmakers,
Right. And so it's nice to see them kind of break out of that and try to do something that is both entertaining, scary, and meaningful at the same time. It can't just be one or two of those, it can be all three. So yeah.
Definitely right. Yeah. Well, I'm glad we got to do a little review discussion of Barbarian even, because it just came out. That if you're a horror fan, please go check this movie out. Let us know what you think about it.
It's weird.
It's a weird movie, Baba. What's your last surprise movie? Stop it.
So my last movie is a movie that encapsulates everything in terms of surprises. A movie that overperformed my expectations, was different from my expectations based on the marketing. So it was way better than I thought it was going to be. It's much like its sequel, it is a movie that is a surprise, that not only that it exists, but that it came out the way it did. And it also has very surprising moments. I'm picking Dan Trachtenberg's 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Oh,
good one. I like this one.
Bro.
Very good choice. I didn't think of this one.
That is such a good choice. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
So this movie is amazing. I saw this movie because it came out when I was working at the movie theater. Like it was like the summer I first started working. And I wanted to play, I was debating this or Barbarian because they're both kind of horror thrillers, but they're not. They don't really embrace like any particular genre. But this movie is so different because the trailers don't really give anything away. It's not a found footage movie like the original Cloverfield, so it's so different there. Dan Trachtenberg was like a no-name internet celebrity who came to direct this. Like I remember watching him growing up on YouTube, and then he was like, "I'm a director," and I was like, "Cool." And he's the first one that like actually made the jump to directing something. It's got a lot of surprises in it in terms of character, in terms of like where the story goes, and much for the development of this movie, much like Cloverfield Paradox, people didn't know it was a Cloverfield movie. It was like a month before the movie came out, and they were like, "It's a Cloverfield movie." We were like, "What? What the heck?"
Yeah.
You know? And then they surprise released Cloverfield Paradox like the day of the Super Bowl, and it sucked. Or it was just okay. I don't know. I have mixed feelings on Cloverfield Paradox, but 10 Cloverfield Lane is such a great movie. It's got great surprises in it, great performances. John Goodman, crazy good in this movie. Like, literally plays a crazy person in the best way. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, John Gallagher, very good chemistry. And honestly, it's very enclosed tale that works, has tension, and is, like, honestly kind of fun. So, I don't know. What did you guys think of this movie?
Chris.
Yeah. 10 Cloverfield Lane, in my opinion, is the best of the three. I've only seen the first two, so who knows? Maybe Paradox will surprise me. But
Unlikely.
Yeah, 10 Cloverfield Lane it's so well contained. I love these kind of like, I think like in TV they call these like episodes in a bottle. Is that the word for it?
Yeah.
Something like that. I love these like
Bottle
when when a film is able to like select one location and pretty much run its entire runtime off of it and not lose me, that's pretty amazing. Especially as someone who is a DP, visual variety is something that I really do value, and I like, mixing things up and stuff. But just like how well orchestrated this film is and how much like tension they're able to bring out between just characters largely just talking is really effective. And works beautifully for this kind of film. I honestly can't recommend this movie enough. It's pretty fucking good. I'm trying to think, what can I say that's like negative about this movie?
There's not much. I've seen it like 6 times in theaters. So
yeah, it's generally just it's a very like, it's also like, it's like that mixture of like disturbing, but also like it's thrilling to watch too, even though it's so contained. Yeah, I can't recommend it enough.
it doesn't even
good
have to
film.
focus on the science fiction of a Cloverfield universe to be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's super good. I haven't seen it since theaters. I've only seen it once, but I remember just being knocked off I saw it in New York City actually. In a small little New York Cinemark, I believe. It was an Edwards or a Cinemark, I don't remember, but it was in a New York theater. And I saw this movie before Cloverfield. This was my first Cloverfield movie. So I'm like, okay, so how's this gonna connect to like the big monster? Like, how's this? What's this gonna do? Because I knew about the Cloverfield monster. But what I got was instead just like a really contained, intense film. John Goodman gives such a scary performance. I think such a grounded, scary performance. Like, there are dudes like this guy out there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
Especially in America. There are so many dudes just like John Goodman in America that you might run into like at a Walmart or something, Like, he's a frequent Walmart shopper, John Goodman.
At midnight.
At midnight. That's true. In the last 10 minutes of Walmart being open, you'll see guys like just this John Goodman character creep out of the darkness of the night, and you'll find him there. It is such a good film, and lots of surprises. A good surprise at the end. I'm not sure what the discourse. I remember the discourse was big about what people thought of the ending.
I like it personally.
I like it too. It's satisfying for me. I mean,
it's
been long enough since it's been in theaters. If you haven't seen, or since it's been out, if you haven't seen it, You think it's like aliens. You think it's a Cloverfield monster. Turns out it's an alien invasion. You know. Like you see something off in the distance. You think it's like a plane, but then it comes closer and closer. It's a spaceship. You know. And then there's like these alien dog things that she has to fight, and then she joins like a resistance or something. You know. And it's cool. I don't know how it connects to the first Cloverfield movie. I was
really
wishing
doesn't.
I was wishing Cloverfield Paradox would be the film to sort of connect the two, but it is, sorry to spoil, Chris, it doesn't at all. It tries to do its own thing, you know. That's not that. It's whatever, you know, whatever it is.
All right.
But yeah, super surprising movie. I want to rewatch it so bad now because I literally haven't seen it since 2016. Since it came out.
We
in
own
March
all of them.
2016. Yeah, I got them all for $5 at Big Lots. So eat your heart
Good
out.
deal. Good deal.
People who don't like deals. Who doesn't like a good deal? I love deals, especially when they're Blu-ray deals. Great film, Brandon. Good pick. All right, Chris, let's wrap this up with your last surprise movie. Knock us off our socks, dude.
All right, I'm picking a movie. This is the one that's probably the most predictable for me, but I want to throw it in there because this is to this day one of the biggest surprises I've ever had with a movie. I'm still actually kind of amazed that this has never made Final Stack. Carrie Kirkpatrick's 2018 film Smallfoot.
God damn it! No!
Yeah, baby.
I had to throw it in
let's
there.
go.
It
is
was
such a big
truly
surprise.
a surprise.
I didn't think about this
pleasure.
actually. That's kind of wild.
This was an absolute pleasure of a surprise. Especially after this is the movie I saw, I think a day or so, October 10. A literal one day after having my heart broken by A Star Is Born. Bradley, go back to acting. Seriously.
Just
No, I'm kidding.
randomly decided.
You're probably gonna
to
do
see
well
this
in Maestro.
movie.
That's my
I
guess.
thought the movie was
But
great.
anyway.
It's okay.
Okay,
First half's
Smallfoot.
good.
Okay, this movie has been made fun of a billion times. Zendaya as Michi, that shit went around like crazy in 2018. But what you find
key
beneath the surface here is a much more articulate movie than I think anybody other than Brandon and I apparently are willing to give this movie credit for.
It's weird. How
Um,
crazy, like the divisive the response is.
I feel like we've talked about this at some point before, but I remember Brandon and I kind of randomly were like, okay, let's go see this movie. We're bored. Why don't we go see it? We went to the movie. We sat down, ready to just shit on it the entire time. About 25 or ish minutes in, I think I leaned over to Brandon. Oh, Brandon leaned over to me or something like that, and we were like, hey, like, this is kind of good, or is it just me? And then the other was like, yeah, it's pretty good. And yeah, it's a fantastic film. I honestly think it does a really good job of handling its story and also expanding on some pretty thought-provoking themes about like social conditioning and like maybe not necessarily race relations, but like just any form of like prejudice that exists in our world. Ethan, I know you have a lot of prejudices of your own in this movie.
He's anti. He is so racist when it comes to.
But,
What?
But anyway,
is it because LeBron has a big role?
But I honestly, there's not much else to say about this movie. Ethan, I know you have gripes with like the way the Bigfoot are designed in this film. I understand that. I know you're a big fan of the Bigfoot.
We know you don't like
the Bigfoot
musicals.
mythos, but I don't know.
Make
For
it
me,
sound
for
so
my money,
childish.
like.
I guess it was
sorry.
just.
How do I make that sound more grown up, Ethan?
Hey, he's just. It was an uphill. It was always an uphill battle with him. He doesn't like musicals. He doesn't really like this kind of animation style. He's kind of
picky Ethan.
He doesn't like the actors involved with the.
Yes.
All right, but
worst
yeah,
of all,
Smallfoot's
it's got James.
Smallfoot's
Corden.
a lot of fun. Would recommend James Corden. It's his best role. Channing Tatum, one of his better roles. Zendaya, probably not her best, but still good.
She's good.
Common, amazing. LeBron James, are you
Pretty
kidding
great.
me?
His
Incredible.
best role.
Danny DeVito.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah,
Better than
but
the
anyway,
Penguin in Batman
it's a great
Returns.
time. I think you'd really enjoy it. Brandon and I had a blast with it. Yeah, And I think even Ethan, you gave it a 3, so it's not bad.
It's not a bad
It's
film.
all right. It's good.
It's not a bad film. I just think it's not the. You guys treat it like the second coming when you guys saw that movie, and I was like, okay.
It is.
It was
It
a
is.
modern kid. It was a modern kids film. Okay. Brandon,
No, it
you talk
was
about it. I don't.
It's more than that. It's more than that. It's a beautiful movie
Sure.
that has great messages for kids, but also for adults. You know, like I feel like the messages conveyed through the music is something that a lot of movies don't really do. A lot of musicals don't do. That's my biggest complaint with a lot of musicals is like they don't really encapsulate anything to do with the story. They're just good musical numbers. And I feel like this did in a way that works immensely well. Let's take Star is Born. I don't think that movie has like great music because the music doesn't relate well to the plot of the movie. And it's just fine pop music for the most part. And then, you know, you have something like Smallfoot with like the Moment of Truth song at the end, the Perfection song. All of that encapsulates the worldview of Channing Tatum's character and how it shifts throughout the movie. Not only that, I think it's an incredibly funny movie. I don't think it relies too heavily on any childish jokes. Yes, there are a few slapsticks things that got me and Chris. But I think
goat. That
yeah,
fucking goat is still funny.
but I honestly think it's quite intelligent in its other comedy, like how it dissects like and satirizes human culture and cult culture. You know, like how people get stuck in a way of mind forever. And you've got the types like Jimmy Tatro's character.
Yeah, who are just completely
empty-headed. Yeah,
totally.
So great movie.
Yeah. Hey, you heard it here first.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. It wasn't a surprise to me. I was like,
I think it was a big surprise. It
It
could have been
was
a
to me.
nothing
no,
movie.
I saw trailers. I was like, it looks like a modern kids movie. You guys said it was great. I was like, oh, and then I was like, oh, it's a modern kids movie. I don't know. Hey, Bigfoots look weird. Eyes are too close together. Bigfoots don't have horns. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Gibby, gibby, goo. Gabba goo.
Who says creative liberty can't be taken with things that do not exist?
Oh, so you say they don't exist? Just kidding. Yeah, they don't exist. Don't paint me that picture, you listeners. I don't know. Yeah, Smallfoot. We've talked about it enough. You know
No,
my
we
thoughts
haven't.
on it.
We're gonna talk about.
I will not argue that you two were surprised by it. I will not argue it that it was a surprising movie to you two. So your pick for this is valid. It is valid. It is
Cool.
valid. All right, now we'll go into our final stack. But before we do that, let's run down what movies we picked. Daniel Plainview, my movies were The Jesus Rolls, Sallow, and Barbarian. Brandon, what were your three?
My three were Magic Mike, Final Destination 5, and 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Very good. Chris, what about you?
My films were Cult of Chucky, City on Fire, and Smallfoot.
Now,
Great.
that is a triple feature right there in its own.
Yep.
Honestly, watch all
okay.
9 of these movies, and I'm sure you'll be happy.
I have a proposal.
Oh,
let's
Chris already
hear it.
has one. Let's hear it.
All right. I think I definitely would. I don't know if it's too soon, but I would like to put Barbarian on this. I think the surprises that you get in that movie, they're so fresh. They're so good. I think it's earned its right to be stacked so early after its release
Yeah.
because we're so surprised by it.
It's justifiably surprisable.
I think that's justified. I would also like to put 10 Cloverfield Lane because I also really like that pick. I think it's a very surprising film for not only the fact that it's related to Cloverfield, but also just the quality that came out of it. As for the final pick, I would like to put forward either Smallfoot or City on Fire. Any rebuttals?
No rebuttals from me. Maybe just considering Sallow somewhere in there. I think all right, I'm going to say this. I think Smallfoot should be in the stack because I will not invalidate your two's surprise about that, you know?
And he also doesn't want to talk about it ever again. until the sequel comes out.
We either pick it now or we talk about it again one day. I'm just saying. It's one or the other.
He's like,
I think 10 Cloverfield Lane should be on there. I am perfect. I would love to put Barbarian, but I would either put Barbarian or Sallow.
Here's my thinking.
Yeah.
Brandon doesn't want to pick Barbarian
Why doesn't Brandon want to pick Barbarian?
because Brandon's thinking about the 2022 episode.
Oh, really? You want to say that for 2020?
Fuck! I already gave up mine. I already gave up my one for that one.
Oh,
Maverick?
Top Gun.
Top Gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was gonna be
It's
one.
alright.
That's what
That's why-
I thought.
That's why I'm saving Nope.
My two were Ad Astra and Top Gun Maverick that I really wanted to use like for one of them, but I was like, we've already used them. Shit. So
Oh, yeah.
So I'm for Solo just because Barbarian. What if it's one of the best movies of the year? What if I rewatch and it's my note? Who knows?
Who knows? You know what, Chris? Let's see how Barbarian ages, shall we? Let's see how it ages.
Yeah, I'm down.
And we've all seen Sallow. You know, we all find that film pretty surprising. Albeit mine's a different reason.
That's a
but
way.
not,
That's a way to put it.
Not for reasons like, oh yeah, what are you guys talking about? I love all this stuff. No.
Also, I think we need to save Barbarian because I think we need to wait a little bit until we can talk about it more.
That's
'Cause
true.
we talked about it in very
Sure,
vague
sure.
terms.
And I want to see what its replayability is like. When I said in my review, like, I got so scared I never want to see the movie again. I actually am seeing it tomorrow. I'm seeing it at the drive-in. So I'm really curious about what.
You're a liar.
I don't know. I'm a liar. What do you
You
mean?
lied in
You
your
don't thi-
review.
I know I did lie in my review, but then my girlfriend wanted to see it, which was very surprising in of itself because she hates horror movies. And I was like, all right. And she wants to see it at the drive-in, and I was like, okay, that's cool.
I might be seeing it again tomorrow too, but not.
So
with you guys.
I'm curious about what it's like seeing its replayability, you know, because I think a true surprise movie is surprising even on rewatch. So that's why I'm gonna argue that. That's why I'm gonna argue Sallow.
Also,
cool with
Zach
that?
Krieger, get back to my DM on Twitter. I really would appreciate it.
Brandon DM'd the director, and he's like, he's asking about a plot hole in the movie. I'm like, no. Not only did he ask about a plot hole, he threw me under the bus because it was. I brought it up. I'm like, this is kind of like a plot hole in the movie. So he DM'd the director and he's like, hey, my roommate thought this was a plot hole in the movie. I'd be like, if I was a director and someone brought up like, hey, what do you think about this plot hole in your movie? I would never respond to that DM.
No, but I tried to say, hey, I think it's this, and it's not a plot hole, but
And
he
then you
thinks it's
threw
a plot.
me under the bus. How
Hey,
dare you? You
I'm
didn't
okay
have my
with it.
permission to embarrass me in front of the director.
He liked your tweet already. It's fine.
That's true. He did like my tweet. Thank you, Zach. But he didn't follow. What the heck? Come on.
All right, so order here.
Okay.
I think we start with Solo. Get it out of the way.
And then we go to Smallfoot.
Yes.
I think the line between Smallfoot and Solo, I think that is a surprise in and of itself. I think we start with Smallfoot and then we go into Salo. we gotta make this triple feature
Oh my
surprising.
god.
You know what I'm saying?
So wait, what follows that? 10 Cloverfield?
Yeah, and then end with 10 Cloverfield Lane.
And if you don't know what these movies are, and you're just listening to a podcast, and we're just like, don't even like Google these movies, just like watch them in that order, and just be surprised by all three.
See what happens. Just enjoy.
See what happens.
Don't even listen to the podcast. Just go. Just go. Take
Wait,
the
but
stack.
how
go
would they
do
know?
it.
How would they know the stack?
No,
There are probably
listen
people
to the
who
ending.
skip to the
Just
end,
listen to
yeah.
ending.
Yeah.
While they're at the ending.
Hey, no,
I
put
know
a
you just
put a
listen to
note.
the podcast. Go back, erase your memory, just listen to this part,
Ethan,
and then watch the stack.
Ethan,
Let us know what you think.
here's what I'm saying. Put a note
What?
for yourself to record this at the end of the video, and then record that thing where you say, "Hey, this is future Ethan. Skip to this time code where we reveal our top picks, and then go in blind, and then listen to the episode."
I'm not doing that. That's so complicated.
It's such a special. It's such a special episode, Ethan.
It's surprising. You know what? I'm gonna edit this episode so we talk about our final stack before we talk about our picks. That's surprising, right?
That's great. I like that. And then they could be like, what else do they want to? Yes, I like that.
I'm not doing that. I'm not fucking
What?
doing that.
Come on.
That would stitch together horribly. I don't know how to do.
No, you could do it. I believe you. I believe in you.
All right.
He's writing it down, folks.
I'll do it.
Yes. All right.
Okay. Let's run down our stack, shall we? Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So this is Stack's official, the most surprising.
This is genuinely a pretty surprising. This is a surprising
the most
stack on its
surprising
own.
movies we've ever seen. Chris, do you want to start us off with our first movie on our surprising movie stack?
Yep. Our first film is Carrie Kirkpatrick's 2018 animated film Smallfoot, a fantastic child-friendly film about social conformity, about what you believe in, and standing up for the truth and what's right no matter what. And also having compassion for your fellow man or fellow foot, if you will. Let's go into the next one.
All right, our next film, similar to Smallfoot, is Pasolini's Salò, a movie about Channing Tatum's Bigfoot coming to terms with Italian fascism and how power can corrupt. I think this is power corrupts in the most extreme way possible. I don't think there is even a worse way of talking about how power can corrupt someone. How total, absolute power over someone else can corrupt you. It is a complete exploration into that and corruption of power of lust and sexuality. Crazy film. Lots of fun surprises. Lots of little good gags and surprises throughout. Salò. Brandon, say those magic words, baby.
And our last film, 10 Cloverfield Lane. A film that is surprising in more ways than one. Not only does it have shocking moments, shocking character turns, but the way it's constructed, the way it was marketed. This film is entirely different from how you expect it'll be, and it's entertaining as hell. Check it out.
Check it out. And there's our stack, everybody. What'd you think? Were you surprised? Did you cry? Did you scream? Did you roll your eyes? Did you say, "Oh, what the heck"? Let us know what your reaction was to this episode. And
it was fun.
It was very fun. Very fun at the end. We got very fun. We got very into it. Let us know what your most surprising movies are. But I bet there's a lot. There's a lot of surprising movies out there. That's what's so great about movies. I love being surprised in a movie. There's no better feeling.
Hold. Welcome back to Stacked, everyone.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Stack. Today we are talking about surprising movies.